Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Champagne and JD. I'm Andrew Champagne alongside JD Fox, and in a little bit, we're going to go into the late quaddy at Royal Randwick for day two of the championships. It's a great sequence, four stakes races, several grade ones. But for now, JD, I got to tell you, I'm pretty ticked off.
Yes, I know as we record Thursday night, you had a vacation starting tomorrow planned, and it wasn't just a staycation like it's turned out to be. You were going to go someplace special for one of the best weekends, opening weekends in the world of sports.
Yeah, I was going to go to Keeneland. It was going to be my maiden voyage to the Bluegrass. I've actually never been to Kentucky. I was pretty excited about this. One of my very good friends, Joe Nevels, his lovely wife, Natalie, had agreed to put me up for a couple of days, play some overly competitive board games, eat some good food, go to some horse farms, go to Keeneland, maybe catch a professional wrestling show. Not to be. Thanks, coronavirus. Really appreciate it. And if 2020 could stop doing horrible things to good people, not just for me, but for several others out there that have had some pretty rough weeks of late, that would be great. It's just been a lousy year for a lot of people and a lot of things not going to plan, least of all this show. This was not supposed to be a weekly Australia show, but because very few tracks are running and because JD Fox is a nerd who obsesses with Australia racing, that's what this has turned into. So we've basically got the Australia expert on the right side of the screen, the Australian novice on the left side of the screen, and we are going to tackle the all stakes late quaddy at Randwick on Friday night. It's going to be Australia A and your ADW, whichever ADW of choice it is. There are 10 races. This is races 7 through 10. And JD, it is an excellent card, not just the quaddy. I know there are a couple of races you like on the early part of the card as well. Lots of opportunities to get involved.
Yeah, the Oaks is actually one race before the quaddy, and that
Yeah.
might be the best race that we have on tap on the day, and I could get into that. But what's interesting is a horse that would probably have been the odds-on favorite in the Oaks chose to run against the older horses later on in the card. So we're going to
Ooh.
see we're going to be talking about a very talented 3-year-old filly during our quaddy sequence. I think we'd be remiss quickly in talking about last week, day one of the championships. We did the same thing. If you haven't been following along, we did pick four, and neither of us hit the pick four. I'm just going to go out on record. Neither of us hit the quaddy. But in terms of top selections, we had the top selection chosen between the two of us in 3 of the 4 races. I had 2 and Andrew had 1. And so 3 out of 4 did not pay. It was a long shot that won the leg, and it's a long shot that is running again here in day 2 of the championships. You touched on this a little bit last week, but the breeding in Australia a little bit different than what we see in North America over the past 20 years. These horses are bred to run and run a lot.
Yeah, you're seeing horses run for the second time in a week. You're seeing horses in a couple of cases run for the sixth or seventh time this season, and we're barely in April. It's fascinating. And if you don't think American breeding is up to snuff, this is a very interesting alternative. Horses here, not necessarily bred for speed, though there are some very fast horses. They're bred for stamina, they're bred for soundness, they're bred to run, 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 and then run some more. And in no other place is that evident than race number 7 of the card at Randwick on Friday night. This is the Grade 1 Sydney Cup, and you're not seeing things. That's 3,200 meters. That's 2 miles. This is an endurance test in the truest sense of the word. And JD, there are some very good horses in here. Number 1, Mustajir, and number 2, Young Rascal. Figure to take the most money. I'm going to do us a favor. I'm going to let you bet leadoff here, mainly because I want to shock you with the horse that is my top pick. So, JD, you take it away. And I know there is one horse in here that's going to take some money that you are not using on your quaddy ticket.
Yeah, Andrew, this is a really tough sequence because there's some favorites that I really like, and there's a couple horses I really like in this race as well that aren't necessarily favorites. So how do you balance a ticket? You're gonna see 2 different ways to play. Definitely day 2 of the championships between our 2 tickets. But leading off here, we're going 3 deep. The 2 Young Rascal, the 5 Gaelic Chieftain, and the 10 Etta James. So you look at Young Rascal. 2 races back, raced at Shaw 10. You have to throw that race out. Clipped heels at the beginning. Watch the replay. That was a rough start. Was never really in the race. Manion Cup last start out, got up late in the race. Kind of tell stamina-wise could still have needed the race. Kind of a surprise that got up. And we're talking about that was a race at 1.5 miles. So why do you make that a top selection going 2 miles? I really think it's the case of there's going to be the ability to settle in this race because there's actually going to be some pace in a 2-mile race. And I know that just sounds absolutely absurd, but we'll talk a little bit about the pace dynamic here with the next horse I'm going to bring up. But Young Rascal has never gone the distance of 2 miles, really a question mark, but I think can cover it on the breeding side and also the running style. The 10 Etta James, I'm going to not lie. This New Zealand bred is my favorite horse running down in New Zealand and Australia just because she tries hard every single time out. I just love the effort, and she can do it from multiple styles. Most recently in her 7-year-old campaign, really it's been front end, and it's been surprising at long odds on the front end. I think she's going to get out in the front end, and I could see her going 7, 8, 9 lengths ahead of the rest of this field here for 2 miles. When there's so much doubt of, I believe there's 3 horses in this field that have ran 2 miles, Andrew. Etta James has ran 2 miles, has ran 2 miles on the lead. I want to see how far she can go, how fast she can go, and if she can just separate herself from the field. And then Gaelic Chieftain is a horse I really liked last week in the Chairman's Quality, a race we didn't talk about early in the card. That was a top selection for me. If you follow me on Twitter at Horse Tickets with my full card selections. But really begging to stay the longer distance here. Needs the distance, has been successful at 2 miles before. Should sit, make that one run sitting 4th or 5th. So we're going 2, 5, 10. And as you mentioned, Mutajir, a big horse in this race that I am not using. The last couple efforts have been very interesting. I think the second place finish last time out really wasn't a second place finish because Hugh Bowman's ride, he got suspended. He's not riding in the day 2 of the championships because they claim he did not ride his horse out, and his horse finished 3rd and got passed late by Mutajir. So I don't know how to take away that performance. I can't wrap my brain around it. In most cases, I would include a horse like that, but in this case, just given that I like the speed and I like Young Rascal a lot, I'm going a little different direction. 2, 5, 10 for me, Andrew.
You ready to get crazy, JD?
Let's get crazy with the cheese whiz, my friend.
My top selection in the Sydney Cup is 40-1 on the morning line. Now, I'm using number 2 Young Rascal, who will likely be favored. I'm using number 1 Mustajir, who has a load of back class, and you mentioned it ran pretty well last time out. I'm also going to use number 4 Raheen House, who steps up after a Group 2 win last weekend. That's another horse that doesn't get Hugh Bowman, given Bowman's suspension. Having said that, my top selection, 40-1 on the morning line, number 7 Azuro. The last couple of races, by no means good. I would not show this race to children or those who have weak stomachs. They were bad. Having said that, if you look at races contested at this 2-mile distance, Azuro is 3 for 5 with a second. I think that is the great equalizer here. Mustajir, Young Rascal, Raheen House, they've got a lot of talent. The distance, very much an unknown. Azuro is going to be a gigantic price, and given his record at this distance, I need to have this horse on my tickets, and I will likely have some win money on him because Azuro, to me, seems like a horse that wants to go this distance. Give me 1, 2, 4, and 7. In race number 7, the Sydney Cup going 2 miles. Hopefully we started off with a bomb in the form of Azuro, the distance specialist, going to be a big price. And if he lights up the tote board, a lot of tickets go up in smoke.
One thing we haven't mentioned and probably should early on here, soft going and rain in the forecast. So right now, soft 6, we could see a heavy 8, and that only improves the likelihood of your horse being there. Basically a win and a show They don't refer to it as a show in Australia, but a win and a third under the heavy going in the career. 3 for 5 in terms of wins at the distance. I do like the selection. I just don't like how chilly that horse is early on in the week on the board in Australia.
Stay chilly. Get ice cold. Give me more money.
I think, I think that's a way of looking at it. You want to take chances and you want to make money, and this is a good sequence to make some money. And like I said, there's a couple different ways to go. The Group 1 Queen Elizabeth Stakes is next. Andrew, race number 8, and contested at 1.25 miles, 2,000 meters for 3-year-olds and up. And if the Queen Elizabeth Stakes sounds familiar to those in North America, this is the race that Winx has won the previous 3 years. Obviously, the great mare retiring at the end of her last campaign. So we're going to have a new Queen Elizabeth Stakes winner here in 2020 with a field of 13 signed on in this one, Andrew. And I think there's a couple different directions that people can go here, and I think really going back to the beginning of the field, there's a couple horses in the first 4 horses that are some of the most popular horses that are running not only in Australia but in all of the world in terms of turf horses.
Yeah, there's some real class in this race, JD. I am going 4 deep. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if people see this as a 2-horse race between the first 2 horses in the program. Number 1, Danon Premium, comes in from Japan, is a multiple Group 1 winner there. Makes a lot of sense. Number 2, Addeybb, though, one of the classiest turf horses in training. Group 1 winner last time out, 2 back, ran second behind a very, very good horse. This is a horse that has danced a lot of dances and has plenty of tactical speed from an inside barrier draw. I am also, though, going to use 2 other horses that might be a bit bigger prices. Number 5, Vow and Declare. If that name sounds familiar, it's not an accident. This horse won last year's Melbourne Cup, goes second off the bench here. I don't necessarily know if he's good enough to win this race, but always seems to fire. An ultra-consistent horse that's easy to root for and is going to be a bit of a price. I need to have that horse on my tickets. And while Winx may retire, Very Elegant could give trainer Chris Waller another win in this race. Rallied to win a Group 1 at Rose Hill last time out. I think merits respect. I'm going 4 deep in here, numbers 1, 2, 5, and 12. JD, how do you see it?
I see it a little differently. Just in terms of going into this week, I saw this as a 2-horse race. And then a steward's report and a note of a bruise to one of the beloved horses, to Teakau Shark, or everybody just calls her the Shark. Him the Shark. Wow. Him the Shark. It's a gelding. I knew that.
Wow. Not even the wrong sex, but a gelding. Ooh, that's insulting. Nobody tell this horse that. He'll come to Arizona and kick you.
Yeah. No, just a disappointing third last time. Some bruising. Past inspection, still going to run as of note here. But yeah, that's a big scary sign for me. So I am going to make this very, very simple.
Whoa!
Addeybb single in this race. Really, if you watch the stretch run against Very Elegant in the Ranvit, you thought Very Elegant was going to go by 6 or 7 times. And Addeybb just kept finding more and more. Tar Marquand, I don't know what he found in the horse, but just kept going. Such a classy galloper. Draws the rail at Randwick, and you know this is a big angle for me. Speed on the rail. I think wire to wire for Addeybb, and this is a big angle that worked well last week, and I really think it's going to work well here again. So Addeybb, a single for me in the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. I think really it could be. I think it's either Addeybb or it could be anybody. This is a race where I'm either going to single or I'm probably going to go deep enough to where one might consider taking a chance at an all-button selection. I couldn't pull the trigger on that. Addeybb, just such classy form in Europe, and now going back to Australia. I just think that's the horse to beat, and I'm going to take a chance with that speed on the rail as we get ready for the next race, which is going to be the Coolmore Legacy, a.k.a. the Queen of the Turf. I don't know why this race has two names, and when you look at it online and you're researching it, Andrew, you see both names, and it's, really the Coolmore Legacy is what they're calling it now, but I really think you have to call this the Queen of the Turf still.
Well, we'll go with that then. The Queen of the Turf is a Group 1, older fillies and mares going 1 mile. Big field here and some really classy horses. A number of horses in here that I think you could potentially make a case for. It just a tough race that I thought to handicap. I wound up, though, going 4 deep in this race, and we'll talk a little bit more about it as we scroll through. You'll see some familiar faces here if you're into Australian racing. A number of these horses ran last week in day 1 of the Champions. You saw Conte Partiro's name go by. Not going to use that one this time around. Just doesn't seem like the same horse at Randwick for me. So I am going 4 deep in here. And we scroll through here, JD. We haven't yet gotten to my top selection. That's how big this field is. Note the scratch of number 11, Miss Fabulous. And as we scroll through here towards the 3rd page of the graphics, as
they try to load and there we go.
Hey, here we go. We're finally on the last page, and this is where my top pick resides. That's number 17, Fun Star. Fun Star cuts back after being a bit one-paced at 10 furlongs last time out. And JD, I think she's the horse to beat in here. She draws favorably, won a Group 1 at this route last season, has never been worse than second in 5 local starts. Horse for course, I think a lot of things come together for Fun Star. She's 3-1 on the morning line, so you're not going to get a gigantic price. But to me, she makes the most sense. Still, though, because of the 20-cent minimum, I'm able to spread a little bit and still able to play a bit of an economically sound ticket. You can see on the screen, I am going 4 deep. I'm also going to use number 2, Natoyer, who's won 2 of 3 starts this season. She gets a stiffer weight assignment here, though, 126 up from 114, but should be flying late, and there's a lot of early pace signed on. I couldn't leave her off the ticket. Number 4, Miss Siska, inside speed, tired in Group 1 going longer, cuts back to her preferred trip and won a barrier trial just recently. Could sit a perfect trip on the inside. As you mentioned, JD, speed on the rail, always powerful. And I'm also going to use number 9, Positive Peace. Does take a step up in class, but has won 5 in a row. Won a Group 2 last time out. Maybe a Group 1 is next. So 2, 4, 9, and 17 for me in race number 9, the Queen of the Turf. JD, how do you see it?
I liked where you started, and I was almost going to jump in and just say, hey, let's keep this simple, Andrew.
Woo!
Let's single the 3-year-old against the older
crazy, mares. JD. Back-to-back singles on a 20-cent ticket.
Okay, first of all, who said I'm playing a 20-cent ticket?
That's true. This is called foreshadowing, kids.
So, really, Fun Star, Chris Waller's charge. Oh, man. I think this is the most impressive horse in Australia right now. I'm in love with this selection. Obviously, Natoya is in this field, and everybody's abuzz because ran out of her shoes last week. I don't see a back-to-back there. And I'm not saying Fun Star's perfect. I mean, she's coming off of a disappointing 4th in the Vinery Stud. Tough barrier draw, a lot against it. She'll want to find the front, and I think she'll have a chance to do some, even though she's drawn towards the outside of the field. I do like her chances here enough to single. I'm taking some stands here because while I do feel there's some wide open races, especially the last race that we're about to talk about, the Sapphire Stakes, I think you have to cut down here. So I'm taking the chance with the star 3-year-old for Waller in the number 17 Fun Star. So Andrew, I've been shocking and awing you so far as we get ready for
I don't know about
awing,
JD. Let's not flatter yourself here. We haven't gotten fully through the ticket. I'm not substantially awed yet. You've got a little ways to go. I'm looking forward to seeing where you're going in the Sapphire Stakes, but hold your horses just a little bit. I am not easily awed. I'm the guy that cheered when Zenyatta got beat. Let's be real here. The bar is high.
That's true. So the Grade 2 Sapphire Stakes, 1,200 meters, so the only sprint of the sequence here for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And we've got 18 signed on. We have a 16-horse field, and there's there's 3 also eligibles here as we'll scroll through. And Now, this is the part of doing live to tape, Andrew, and we're gonna we're gonna roll with it. That these pages have been very slow to turn, so apologies on that here
This is your
as we
fault
turn to page.
somehow.
Yeah, as we turn to page 2 here. Bangkok, a very popular horse in Australia, may have the best days behind her, and then the outside, the two also eligibles, I should say, are the 17 Yamasaki and the 18 Gen Rules. So it will be a field of a maximum of 16 runners. Nobody has scratched as of yet, so 17 and 18 likely to scratch in this race. But you did some foreshadowing, and you're basically like, hey, you have not spent any money on a 20-cent ticket. Well, here we go. All Button of Glory here in the last race, and we're going to play this for $1. So,
whoa, a whole $1. Have you cleared this with the powers that be?
Sure. No, we already hit a quaddie this week, so we're playing with house money a bit. So if you want to play this, obviously for the 20-cent denomination, you can certainly do that. It's a $9.60 ticket. Really, this is a wide open race. Going into this, a horse I tipped 2 weeks ago. I'm excited. I was looking at that as kind of the horse to beat here. Really loved the style and the late charge one run in the sprints, but 5.5 meters, 5.5 furlong specialist, needed to get a good barrier draw. Fasika, another horse that I both really liked, and Fasika normally a midfield trip, one run, beautiful. So when those horses drew barriers 18 and 15, I'm throwing this out. I don't know who's going to win. And then you see the speed that signed on Savatiano, Miss X Factor, White Moss, Manicure, Booker. There's so much speed in this race. I think this is going to be chaos. I think we're going to see 12, 13 horses across the track. I think we're going to see past performances from this race and a chart that doesn't make sense because everybody's going to be within 2 lengths of each other. I think this is just an okay corral shootout. And I'm going with the All Button of Glory here in race number 10, the Group 2 Sapphire Stakes, Andrew. And I think you see it a little differently. You're playing an economical ticket. And again, this is the great part about the 20-cent base denomination is you can play a ticket multiple ways and get yourself coverage here. And you've chosen to do that here in the Sapphire Stakes.
From a wagering standpoint, we're attacking this a bit differently, but I see the race unfolding in pretty similar fashion to the way that you just described. I think it's going to be chaotic out of the gate, and I think it's going to be a staggerfest turning for home. You mentioned number 3, Savatiano, and number 9, Manicure. Yes, they have speed, but I don't necessarily think they need the lead. Those two draw very favorably towards the inside, and I think could sit a perfect stalking trip. I think those two are going to be the ones that get first run late when the real running starts. And I'm going to use number 7, Fasika. The barrier draw is a bit of a problem, but returns to Randwick, won at this route 2 back. If that horse overcomes the barrier draw, sits a trip, or just lucks into a race where they go very, very fast early, which is possible, Fasika's got a big time chance. I'm going 379 in here, and my ticket is $38.40. For a 20-cent increment. You can play around with the wagering increments as much as you want. Again, this quaddie and all stakes variety starting in race number 7 at Royal Randwick, day 2 of the championships. And JD, if you want to put both tickets up, there is some common ground here. We could both hit if it winds up going 2, 2, 17, and then 3, 7, and 9. That's 3 bets. You got 60 cents. You want to split that?
I'll see if I can dig around here and
You've
maybe
got my Venmo. Let's make it happen. Come on.
Yeah, we'll do just that because that's what you needed to do last week. You needed to take 3 of our top selections and do it all. So maybe instead of playing these caveman style tickets that we're looking at here, Andrew, maybe you play some part wheel quaddies, if you will, and you mess around with some races and you use a good ticket builder and you come up with something because really I don't use ticket builders because I'm in Arizona. So how I have to enter races, for those of you in the uninitiated, I have to call on my phone and I have to punch a whole bunch of numbers in. That's how it works.
No, that's not the right number. The other number.
Yeah, and then you back out, and then you eventually make enough mistakes, or the phone system makes enough mistakes that you miss your wager. So I generally put my quaddy tickets in about 2 hours in advance because it might take me 20 minutes to get it right.
Jeez. Now you mentioned a ticket maker or something. Maybe one of these times we can get Ed DeRosa on here with a grid, and we can see how grids look in this particular system with the 8-point font and the A's and B's and C's and top picks. Maybe we could do something like that. But you're right. In all seriousness, a ticket builder type setup would potentially be the right way to go, especially if you want to key on a couple of very strong opinions. JD, I know you have some. I have a couple of horses that I really like. And who knows, maybe I key my big price in the first race of Zuro a couple of different ways to where if that horse wins, maybe it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the way. Chances are I'm going to be in line for a big payday. There's a lot of strategies that you can use here, and we could dive into real game theory level stuff. But the important thing is get involved in some way, shape, or form. These are big fields, high quality horses. It's as good a racing as you're going to see anywhere else on the planet. And you could probably hear the sound effect on my computer from a message I just got. That was a very well-timed sound effect there. Shout out to my girlfriend texting me, likely wondering where the heck I am as I film this. Anyway, it's a good sequence. Both of our tickets are available. They're pretty economical. Two different sequences as far as how we get to the end, but there is a way that we both can potentially hit. And kidding aside, it's a lot of fun looking at this, even though it wasn't necessarily what this show was designed to do. Again, thanks a lot, COVID-19. On that note, because these transitions don't write themselves, we usually do a 3-act play of sorts here, and we've discussed why. It's an old wrestling reference that only about 4 of us out there will ever get. But we want to hear from you. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to what we have to say and checking out our product. We hope you hit the subscribe button right there on our YouTube channel. This is something we're having a lot of fun with. It's really good to have this as a diversion, and we want to make it a pleasant diversion for you. So anything you want us to talk about, you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Andrew Champagne. JD's at Horse Tickets. And we're pretty open to discussing a lot of different things, bringing on a lot of different guests. Between the two of us, chances are we know somebody who knows somebody who can make something happen. Just let us know what you want. We want to put on a product that we like doing and that you like doing. We're not getting paid to do this. This is something that we're doing because we love the game and we're looking for something fun to do in these trying times. JD, did I pretty much hit all the bullet points there?
Yes, we will even pretend like we're stewards at Fawnerd Park if you guys really want us to.
That's going to take a lot. We're going to need a GoFundMe for that, JD.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Right.
I'm just saying, yeah, we really want to hear from you guys because the viewership numbers have been going up and increasing, and obviously, you know, a lot of it has been educational because we've ended up talking a lot about Australia, and it's a racing product that you guys don't know about. I'll take a little bit of time here before we wrap up and basically say, hey, sign up a free account at Sky Racing World. You can dive in and get a lot of stuff. And then also for the championships from the actual Australian Turf Club themselves, a lot of information. And then Racing New South Wales is another great resource. I showed Andrew what Racing New South Wales does in terms of their video content. You have access to just the end of the race if you want to watch it, the full race with the pan view, or you can watch the steward's view from head on.
It's good stuff, really.
So really, they do a great job in Australia. And again, this is not a commingled pool. You're playing against your fellow North American players, speaking from us here in the States. So everybody's learning this together. There's still a lot of foolish money, mostly from me. There's a lot of dead money in the pools, so it's still a good opportunity. But people are getting wiser to the game, and they're spending more time on the game. So there's a lot of people that obviously spend a lot of their time here in the U.S. talking about Australian horse racing and are passionate about it, and we just want to keep growing it because, you know, it's mostly a West Coast thing, and I completely understand that. It's, you know, had a good discussion with the Uber capper this week, and basically like, yeah, if he lived on the West Coast, he'd be playing Australia every day, but he lives in Kentucky, and the races start late. I mean, you look at, we're recording this on Thursday night. The first post was 10:20 Pacific time, so that is a rough go for those in the Eastern time zone. But again, that's why we focus on the Friday night races, because it's Saturday in Australia. It's the early day racing. It's very similar to the States, so they get the action in early, and often. And there's going to be 3 other cards, I should say, on Saturday night for you, or from Friday night wager, Saturday in Australia. It gets very confusing with time zones, Andrew.
Yeah, I feel like you need to do like charts and graphs and just hold them up to the camera. And when you do that, I'll hold up signs of my own, like Sammy Guevara in All Elite Wrestling. Yeah, that might need to be the next thing, especially if the graphics package that you've got continues to be laborious as far as rolling out graphics. And at the very least, feed your hamster, okay? Feed the dang thing, because it seems like it's clearly upset with you.
Yeah, it is a little upset with me today. So appreciate your guys' patience as we figure out what this podcast is about, and we try to bring you some field size graphics and some various bells and whistles that we don't see a lot of people doing, and especially not a lot of people that are just 2 men with no sponsors for this podcast, and just rolling and having fun. So we really appreciate you guys. And to reiterate what Andrew said, feel free to contact us. Any content you want to see, if you guys want to see guests, I mean, like Andrew said, we've got a good Rolodex of people that we could bring on and talk any subject you want regarding the world of horse racing or other worlds as well in the sporting realm. So I think that'll about do it for today with this week's episode of Champagne and JD. For Andrew Champagne, JD Fox signing off, and Andrew, hit him with the catchphrase.
Don't go to the beaches.
Take care, guys.
Stay home.